All right, come join Kyle, John, and David as they go through what's on the playlist. Find out what's everyone's favourite at Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment. We have a few segments, to be honest. In and out points, no celebs and the gossip. Back in time where we're talking about the big M's, coming attractions, what the cue. Quick checks, who'll be laughing? You abundantly. Welcome to Dual Redundancy.
Yes, welcome to Dual Redundancy, the only podcast we hear all latest in television, entertainment news with too many else with exactly the same opinions. I'm one of those hosts, David Allen, and another one is...
John Berwick, and a third one is...
Kyle Bridger. I would consider myself more of a PGA to John's DGA to Dave's Golden Globe. He's just a Golden Globe.
A sagging Golden Globe. Yeah. See what I did there with SAG? You see what I did?
I see what you did.
You see what I did? All right, yes. We will be talking about all those guilds, all those voting bodies, because we're in the middle of award season. In the last week, all these guilds and all these voting bodies dropped a lot of awards and nominations. So we're going to kind of round them all up, figure out what's going on with the Oscar race. Plus, we got some shows to talk about. A big premiere last night, HBO's The Last of Us. And then to go back to all those awards, movies and stuff, we're going to talk about two movies as well that are recently on HBO Max. A big HBO episode tonight. John, what's the first segment?
In and out points.
In or out. In or out. In, out.
Yes, it is in and out points. And we're going to start off with the Golden Globes. The 80th Golden Globes took place 6 days ago on a Tuesday night on NBC. NBC brought them back, and we're back on TV after last year's timeout that they were in. I'm not sure if they've learned any of their lessons, but they're back. They're back on television, and, we're going to yada yada the ceremony. This is the usual stuff. It ran long. Nobody watched it. Technically, it was like the second lowest viewer total ever. It had about 6.25 million watched it. Actually, the lowest was actually back like on TBS when it aired there in 95, but it practically tied with that writer strike one from 2008. So that when they did that like televised press conference, it got about the same viewership as this one did on a Tuesday night. So that's where things are going with the Golden Globes.
Well, when you come off a year off, why would anybody think you're real, or why we should even consider their opinion? I'm
going to be honest. I follow this stuff. I have dates of awards bodies and when the Oscar noms are coming out and all this stuff. I forgot until about 4 or 5 days before the Globes. Oh, the Golden Globes are this week. On a Tuesday. Okay. So if that's me, imagine how many other people are in the same boat, or even worse. But we're going to talk about the awards that they gave out. And I feel overall, I think they were a bit more safe Golden Globe wise than usual. Normally you get some real crazy, like out of left field winners, but I feel like at least with the film wins, they're kind of in line where the Oscars may end up going. Going into the night, the Banshees of Inisherin led with 8, followed by Everything Everywhere All at Once with 6. Then Babylon and The Fabelmans were next with 5 nominations. But then when you look at wins, it was pretty much 3 of those 4 films with multiple wins, and it was the Banshees of Inisherin with 3 wins, including Best Musical or Comedy Film, and then Everything Everywhere All at Once, and The Fabelmans won 2 awards, the latter of which won Best Director and Best Film Drama. So, Kyle, give me those initial thoughts here between, these groups 10 films? These are the 2 winners.
Yeah, well, I mean, with the Banshees in Inisherin, it's a very dark comedy if we're going to stick it in that category. Jeez Louise. Yeah. But, I think it deserves something. It's a very, very good film. I just don't know. Again, with this category swapping thing. But The Fabelmans, I haven't gotten a chance to watch it. I've heard great things about it. I'm excited to watch it because I saw the trailer for it too. It looks really, really good. But like, yeah, I mean, Elvis, I'm kind of surprised to see in this drama category when you could have it in musical. But I was also surprised to see how high they were on it, considering, Austin Butler won too. So
Yeah.
that's just an interesting choice for me. But I'm glad to see Top Gun get some love there. But I haven't gotten a chance to see The Fabelmans yet.
I just want the Globes just get rid of the musical or comedy.
Yeah.
What, every 10 years there's actually a actual musical that is actually in this category, because half the time they're in. Okay, so Bohemian Rhapsody and Elvis are in the drama category, but then I believe Rocket Man the next year was in the musical or comedy category. Like,
Yeah.
it's the songs, like, in the moment, like, they don't break out in a song and break the fourth wall like other. It's like, no, come on, like, that's a musical, and it's also comedic. Whatever Tom Hanks was doing, comedic. Like, come on. But whatever, that's where it is. Yeah, the Banshees of Inisherin, the lighthearted romp that we'll get to a little bit later, is a fun little comedy you can watch and enjoy. But
also with Elvis and Everything Everywhere All at Once, which I love that film, they feel like forever ago. It was like the beginning of last year,
Everything
right?
Everywhere was probably March or April. Elvis was June. It was their summer box office draft.
It just feels
same with
so
Top Gun.
long
Yeah,
ago.
there's some older films in the list this year. I will say, if we look at the actors, it's getting real strong for Kiwi Kwan for supporting actor. Hard to say though with the leads, because the Globes do the split. They do the drama and they do the musical comedy split. So you get two winners, and so far it's kind of the two front runners. So they both won. Like Austin Butler and Colin Farrell for Best Actor, Cate Blanchett and Michelle Yeoh for actress. So it's like, well, where's this going? We don't know, because they both won an award. So that doesn't help.
But the voting season is just so long, or the award season is just so long, that these things are going to go up and down.
Yeah.
We're going to feel it. Somebody's getting talked about a lot. That's how these things go. And something's going to rise to the top, I feel.
Yeah, so we'll go to TV for a little bit here. TV had some choices, specifically in drama, but Abbott Elementary, they went into the night with the most nominations with 5, followed by The Crown, Dahmer. Let's see, I'm trying to remember the title off the top of my head. It's Dahmer Monster: The Jeffrey Dahmer Story. That's the full correct title that they had to say 300 times during the broadcast. Only Murders in the Building, Pam and Tommy, and The White Lotus, they all had 4 nominations. But when we look at actual wins for the night, Abbott Elementary led with 3, including the win for musical or comedy series. And then The White Lotus was next with 2, and one of those was limited series. So, yeah. John, we'll get to it. The confusion over White Lotus. But I want to talk about drama for a bit. Zendaya won for Euphoria. No, she was a no-show. Kevin Costner was there, or not there. He won for Yellowstone, and there was a big moment in Regina King's...
Regina Hall.
Regina Hall.
Took him down.
Yeah. But then we get to series. House of the Dragon won for series. That's over Better Call Saul. That's over Severance. That's over a lot of different drama series. John, thoughts on House of the Dragon winning for Best Drama Series?
I feel like that's not the greatest choice, personally. I mean, how many? 3. You just said 3 other movies that I probably would have chosen before this one, to be honest. I mean, our shows. It wasn't bad, but like, it wasn't, in my opinion, as good as the original Game of Thrones was at its like highest point. And Game of Thrones already has a sour taste in everyone's mouth from the finale of the original. Like, I don't know. It didn't do it for me. I obviously, people are probably gonna guess I think Saul should have won, but even if Saul wasn't in there, I think Severance was better than House of the Dragon by a long shot.
Even the guy who accepted the award was like, Severance, I love you. If I could have made the show House of the Dragon like Severance, I would have, but it would have been a different show. Like, he was saying in his speech, oh, Severance, I love your show.
Yeah.
But I think since it's the Hollywood Foreign Press, that show is kind of a foreign show, right? So it makes sense that they would choose it, because I would choose Severance or Better Call Saul before House of the Dragon for sure. I mean, I thought it was good, but I still think parts of Game of Thrones were much, much better. So, and Severance, yeah. I mean, it's really, really good.
Yeah. It's interesting that Game of Thrones actually never won a Globe. It never won a Golden Globe for series. And so this is, I guess, the first for the universe of Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon. And the guy who accepted it, Miguel Sapochnik, is actually no longer part of the show. He was the co-showrunner for season 1, and he left after season 1. Maybe that's why, as you can see on the stage here, there's barely anyone here. I don't know if they're filming yet or doing what, but it's like, all right, well, one of the actresses here is no longer with the show. The guy accepting no longer with the show. It's like, okay, that's it. But yeah, I was bummed for Saul. Also bummed for Bob Odenkirk. I thought it was a kind of like this weird, ironic, poetic thing that Kevin Costner won, and with him not being there, he should have just went up on stage, because there was that one time he, got somebody to believe he was Kevin Costner. So why not tonight? Like, make it full circle here. But yeah, so that was the Golden Globes. I don't have anything else really much to say about that. If they feel like forever ago, it was just 6 days, but
yeah.
Yeah, let's move over to our next one here. And all the rest are all nominations at this point. On Wednesday of last week, we got the SAG nominations, the Screen Actors Guild for both film and TV. And we're going to keep going with TV because we're in that world right now. Ozark led with 4 nominations, including Ensemble. And then there was also one for Jason Bateman, Laura Linney, and Julia Gardner. And then the other drama ensemble nominees include Better Call Saul, The Crown, Ozark, Severance, and The White Lotus. Meanwhile, comedy ensemble includes Abbott Elementary, Barry, The Bear, Hacks, and Only Murders in the Building. What do we think of this group, Kyle?
I mean, they're pretty strong categories. And I think, I think that all the usual players are there. Abbott Elementary seems to be a juggernaut at this point. It's going to be tough to beat them. Even though Barry was so good, The Bear was good. But Only Murders in the Building, I wouldn't be surprised for them to sneak in. They get a lot of love too. But these are both just stacked categories. Yeah,
there's some strong series here. I feel Barry, even though it's such a strong season, I feel like it's kind of, I don't know if it's just not as shiny anymore to some of the voting bodies and some of these newer shows like The Bear and Abbott Elementary and stuff like that. Drama ensemble, Ozark's still around. It's leading nominations. That feels like forever ago that we got those.
But I feel like this voting body loves.
They love Ozark. I mean, it has 4 nominations. You know, and so so that's probably where it's gonna maybe end up going. But then again, I believe The Crown is also a strong one. It's. Remember back in the day, I think it was like whoever had like the biggest cast had like the best chances. I remember like Orange is the New Black was always winning because it's like, oh my God, there's just so many people. Yeah, looking at it here, last year was Succession, and then the 2 years before that was The Crown. So that could be something there. And then it was This Is Us for a couple years. So yeah, so. That's there's some really interesting choices though at the SAG Awards. They usually, they have their favorites. They have some big names that they like to include, and I got like Steve Carell for The Patient, Sam Elliott for 1883, Emily Blunt for The English. I never heard of that. Jessica Chastain for George and Tammy. Also never heard of that. So there's a lot of big names, especially in this limited, series, television, movie category.
I have heard of George and Tammy. I just. Showtime is one of those things that's outside my radar. I just don't get a chance to watch it that often. And I saw Blackbird was in Golden Globe. I don't know much about that either, which is... and I thought it was interesting that Jonathan Banks is one of the leads for Outstanding Male Actor. So that's interesting.
Yeah, well, and that's what they do. They do a very interesting thing at the SAG Awards where instead of like doing lead and supporting, they group them together. So that's why you get somebody like Jonathan Banks. Like normally supporting actor, for Emmys and stuff, but for here, they just group them all together. So he's up there in the top 5. He's there with Jason Bateman, Jeff Bridges, Bob Odenkirk, and Adam Scott. So, yeah, top 5 for him. And then if you look at top 5 for female actor in a drama series, let's see, we have Jennifer Coolidge, Elizabeth Debicki, Zendaya, and then 2 performers from Ozark, Julia Garner and Laura Linney. Which means, sorry, John, no Ray Seahorn. That's would have been her category. It's like some categories, it's like it works out. Oh, you can move up to the big leagues, and then other ones, there's just too many. I don't know. Was she 6? I don't know. Was she just missed the cut? I don't know. But yeah,
it's a shame because she's so good, and I just feel like right now it's so tough to beat Jennifer Coolidge.
Yeah.
I mean, she's on everyone's mind, and people love her.
Definitely. Yep, it's gonna be a while too because the Emmy she won back in September that was for season 1. So she could be up again in September and you'll be seeing her again, possibly. But let's see, and I'll just run out, let's see, meanwhile, male actor for a comedy series, Anthony Carrigan and Bill Hader for Barry. So that's another supporting performer making it in. Then you have 2 from Only Murders, Steve Martin and Martin Short, and then Jeremy Allen White for The Bear. So I'm putting my money, he just won the Golden Globe. I think he won the Critics' Choice last night, too. And you have 2 from Barry, 2 from Only Murders, and then just 1 from The Bear. I think Jeremy Allen White probably has it for that. But yeah. So let's see. Let's move over to film for a bit here. Film for the SAG Awards. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, and the Banshees of Inisherin again are leading with 5 nominations, and they got the the important ensemble nomination here, and they are joined with Babylon, The Fabelmans, and Women Talking. So those are your 5 ensembles. Usually that's a good sign for the Oscars, with Best Picture and stuff when you get in there. But I will say when you look at Babylon or The Fabelmans or Women Talking, it's well, that was your one, or actually, I take it back. For Babylon and Women Talking, they only got 1 nomination, and this was their 1. That's not great. That just shows, we like it, but we don't have a lot of love for it. Meanwhile, Everything Everywhere, Banshees, 5 total nominations. That means 4 actors and ensembles in there.
And Babylon was really hit or miss with people, right?
Yeah.
It was they
very
really
divisive.
loved it, or so that could make it tough to win in this category too. Yeah,
and you have some other strange choices. Adam Sandler, he's in for Hustle, the Netflix film.
I was surprised to see that.
I don't know. Maybe it's a make good because he wasn't nominated for Uncut Gems. So maybe it's we screwed up then. Here's one for Hustle. I've heard good things about Hustle. I just never watched it. But
yeah, I haven't gotten around to it either. But I've heard it's good.
Yeah. But what's interesting, we're mentioning Netflix. So TNT and TBS are usually the home of the SAG Awards ceremony. But starting this year, Netflix is actually going to be taking it over. Well, at least Netflix's YouTube channel this year.
What?
Yeah. So this year, the ceremony will be live on Netflix's YouTube channel. And then starting next year, it will stream live globally on the actual Netflix platform.
Okay.
Probably a last minute decision, and someone was like, let's stream it on Netflix, and some tech was like, you can't do that. I don't have time. And so they're pushing it till next year. That's my guess.
It's just wild that this is something that was once on cable, it's the A-list talent. It's you're gonna be on Netflix, on their YouTube channel. It's okay. Why don't you put me on a TikTok reel? It's okay, that's, you're probably gonna get more of an audience on TikTok than on the YouTube channel, but
probably.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it must be something with tech because we talked about it that they're going to do the Chris Rock live stand-up special. And I looked up the date for that, and that date is March 4th. The SAG Awards are on February 26th, so you would think they would have the technology when it's a week in between. But I wonder if it's in Chris's contract where it's hey, you're promoting this as the first live event for Netflix. You can't have this come up 4 days later or 4 days before. You can't do that to me.
First live event we ever announced.
Yeah, there you go.
But also, anytime I see any practicing for like live streaming like this, I always think it's some kind of practice for sports.
Yeah,
for
100%.
sporting
Oh,
events. I'm sure that's on the horizon for Netflix. I'm sure they're gonna try and get in with some sports league to try and get live sports and all the advertising that goes along with it.
Yeah, I mean, all the precursors are there. I mean, between the live technology a few months ago with the ad-supported platform, it's like, okay, now we're getting ad partnerships. We're figuring out how ads work. You mix ads and live TV. That's the stuff to get sports. But yeah, so it'll be interesting. Who knows if after the ratings of the Golden Globes and some of these other ceremonies, maybe like that's streaming will be the new homes for all these.
Yeah.
But
And then if you're a celebrity, do you still go get dressed up, or do you do it just for the parties? I mean, at that point, what are you doing it for?
yeah, good. Yeah.
Like, do I have to go do this to win an award, and I gotta dress up and do all this stuff? Some people might like it, but I just feel like, all right, like if I'm not going to the party, if I got a family, like I'm not doing that.
Just
know,
mail the
just
award
to,
over.
just
later.
to be on YouTube. It is interesting that Netflix chose the SAG Awards because I mean, if we look at when we talked about The Crown wins a bunch, Ozark is leading nominations. It's like, oh, they kind of picked one that really likes them. Stranger Things won, a few years before that, so they know what they're getting themselves into. But all right, let's move over now to another guild. Also on Wednesday, we got the Directors Guild Awards for both film and TV. We'll keep going with film. Let's see. Our nominees are the directors Todd Field for Tar, Joseph Kosinski for Top Gun Maverick, Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Martin McDonagh for The Banshees of Inisherin, and Steven Spielberg for The Fabelmans. That's your top 5 directors.
Yeah, it's a tough category.
That's a tough one. Now, let's see. Not all the times they match up. I mean, usually 4 of the 5 for Oscars normally match. It's pretty close, but there's always some wild card, that gets thrown in there. A lot of people were surprised on Wednesday to see Kosinski in there for Top Gun Maverick. Obviously a big film, but a lot of people thought it was going to be James Cameron. If we're going to do a big budget spectacle, James Cameron for Avatar 2 is going to be one of those spots. So he didn't make the cut for this one. And Golden Globes had this sort of similar. They swapped out the director for Tar and Top Gun for Avatar's Cameron and Elvis's Baz Luhrmann. That was the Globes stuff. So I guess you can assume at the very least, if you look between those two, all right, the Daniels and Steven Spielberg are going to be there. Martin McDonagh are going to be there for the Oscars probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
I mean, we could see another Spielberg win for real.
yeah. A few decades in the making. I mean, I think he's what, 2? That's just a guess off the top of my head. He's won 2 maybe for directing. I'll see if I can do that live on the podcast here.
Is Kosinski also doing Mission Impossible?
No, that is Christopher McQuarrie, who did the last 2. He was also a producer on Top Gun Maverick, but that's kind of like
sense. I was gonna say he's got to have a team that is like in his pocket, and they're just like yesing him for every stunt he wants to do. You know what I mean?
That's 100% what it is. Yeah, I looked it up real quick. Yeah, I was right. 2 directing wins for Steven Spielberg, Schindler's List in '94, and Saving Private Ryan in '99. He also won Best Picture for Schindler's List in '94. But yeah, I mean, look at these nominations. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 8.
That's crazy.
8 already for director. That's not including all the Best Picture stuff in there. So yeah. His first nomination was in '78 for Best Director, and yeah, he was just nominated last year for West Side Story. So
wild.
All right. Well, let's look at TV. TV, we got some usual suspects, but we also added in some pretty big names as well. Drama series, Jason Bateman for Ozark, Vince Gilligan for Better Call Saul, Sam Levinson for Euphoria. Let's see. We have, I can't read the name off of the Twitch stream for Severance. I'm sorry. I recognize Ben Stiller, though, for another Severance nominee there. And then for comedy, Tim Burton for Wednesday, Bill Hader for Barry, Amy Sherman Palladino for Maisel, Christopher Storer for The Bear, and Mike White for The White Lotus.
Is that Adif McCardle for Severance.
I think so. Yes, for the drama nominee there. Thank you for my eyes are not what they used to be.
I'm squinting too, man.
All right, so that's our group for TV. Kyle, anyone stick out to you for that?
I just feel like Jason Bateman is just an in at this point, no matter what, for Ozark.
Yeah.
I mean, two for Severance. I'm down with anything Severance with directing, because that show was just so good. And then you just got heavy hitters in the comedy category. Is the one for Bill Hader the one where it's on the
North? Yep.
Yeah, that's a really, really good episode. I hope that wins. That's really, really good.
But yeah, you got Tim Burton making it in for Wednesday there.
Yeah.
Of course, we got a big film director coming in to do TV. Course. You got, the Ben Stiller. You got to have him in there. But all right, let's move over now to Thursday's nominations, and those were the Producer Guild. The Producer Guild Awards for TV and film. Let's start with film. These are the nominees for that: Avatar: The Way of Water, The Banshees of Inisherin, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, Glass Onion: A Knives Out Mystery, Tar, Top Gun: Maverick, and The Whale. Now,
well, I mean, this is just such a wide net that this could really go anywhere, right? I mean, there's just so much going on here.
Yeah, and these have a strong track record of matching the Best Picture noms. I mean, last year it was 80%. They got 8 out of the 10. In the last 4 years, the winner of this was the winner 75% of the time. So, 3 out of 4, this is whoever wins this usually, could win Best Picture. So this could be our 10 Best Picture nominees. The winner could be amongst this group. I'm looking at the list. I think they went pretty blockbustery.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Avatar, Black Panther, Top Gun, even Glass Onion, even though it wasn't at the box office, it's definitely a crowd favorite. There's some other films that we've mentioned tonight that are a little more indie, a little more, but then again, they also have The Whale, Tar, and, they have these smaller films in this list too. So a little bit of everything, everywhere, all at once. But so if we kind of look at everything we've talked about tonight, if we look at the PGA, the DGA, and the SAG Awards, and we have 3 films that got all 3. And coincidentally, they were the top 3 performers at the Golden Globes. The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and The Fabelmans. So it's like, again, I don't want to advocate any gambling, but if you're going to put money on, what 3 films are going to make it for Best Picture nominations on Oscar morning, pretty safe to say it's these 3 for sure are going to be on there. But you think anything else is in the top tier, Kyle, for Oscar noms and stuff like that?
No, I was thinking definitely Banshees and Everything Everywhere All at Once are really getting a lot of headlines lately, and I'm hearing good things about The Fabelmans, so I am not surprised by that at all. I can't wait to watch The Fabelmans, and I'm down with those.
It's one of those years where it's like there's always like every year it's like, oh, it's between these 2, and it's like, I guess like I like this one over the other one, and
I feel like it's
the
more
third
open,
one I always like the most, and it's like this year it's like, okay, I really liked Everything Everywhere. I liked Banshees. I haven't seen Fabelmans yet, but I'm excited to. It's like these are the top 3. I'm not gonna complain. But yeah, it's like so Banshees and Fabelmans, they won the Golden Globe Top Award. Everything Everywhere though was a huge winner last night at the Critics' Choice Awards. It had 5 wins. It led with 5 wins, including picture, director, screenplay, editing, and supporting actor. So,
who did?
Everything Everywhere.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So Oscar nomination voting is happening right now. So it's like, oh, maybe this Critics' Choice thing, we'll see like a big amount of nominations on.
Yeah.
But then again, of course, you're going to see a lot of articles saying leading with 12 nominations, Avatar: The Way of Water. It's because, it's like every below the line category is going to have Avatar.
Yeah,
for sure. But
for sure.
All right, we're going to wrap up with the TV nominations for the PGAs and then the WGAs. But for PGA, I'll run through the list because there's a lot here. They do 3 categories. They got TV drama series, Andor, Better Call Saul, Ozark, Severance, and The White Lotus. For comedy, Abbott Elementary, Barry, The Bear, Hacks, and Only Murders in the Building. And then for TV Limited, Dahmer, Monster, The Jeffrey Dahmer Story, The Dropout, Inventing Anna, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Pam and Tommy. So it's interesting. The comedy is an exact match from the SAG comedy nominees. The drama, nearly the same. You got to just swap out Andor with the Crown, but that's the same. So what do you think of this list? Anything else to say, Kyle?
I still need to check out Andor, but I mean, if they wanted to spread the love to a Disney, I can see that getting in there. But I think for comedy, that's the stacked category, man. I think all of them have a legitimate shot. And as far as the limited series, I think, honestly, that's probably the weakest category because two of those I know got some intense criticism. Inventing Anna, I know, was like very up and down. And Obi-Wan Kenobi, I personally was not a fan and didn't keep up with. So I think usually limited is
the strongest.
One of the strongest. Now I think it's probably the weakest.
Yeah, I believe last night at Critics' Choice, I believe The Dropout won.
Yes.
For limited.
Yes.
So maybe that'll be the winner here. We'll have to wait and see. But
I would say The Dropout, based on your preference, Dave, I think that would be yours, right?
I mean, of this 5, yeah. I mean, and then I would go Pam and Tommy. I didn't see much of Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story.
Yeah.
I only saw like the first episode or two, and then I didn't bother with the other two. So, yeah. All right, last one of the night. WGAs, and for the Writers Guild, we don't have the film nominations for some reason. They wait until a week after the Oscar noms, but they did announce the TV nominations. They got 4 categories, so. Here we go. TV drama, Andor, Better Call Saul, The Crown, Severance, and Yellow Jackets. Comedy, Abbott Elementary, Barry, The Bear, Hacks, and Only Murders in the Building. New series, Abbott Elementary, Andor, Bad Sisters, The Bear, and Severance. And then limited series, The Dropout, Fleshman is in Trouble, Pam and Tommy, The Staircase, and The White Lotus. If we look just overall, Better Call Saul and The Bear actually led with 3 nominations total. Saul got drama series and then 2 episodes. They do individual episodes for WGA. And then for The Bear, they got comedy, new series, and an episode for comedy series. So Saul's leading. That's great. The Bear's leading. That's great. But overall, Kyle, what do you think of these nominees?
Similar. I think you've got your usual suspects on there. I think Abbott Elementary is probably going to win a bunch. That seems to be the juggernaut, the one up top. And I hope Better Call Saul wins. The writing is the best part of the show. I mean, that's what strings it all together. I mean, it's so masterfully done. But Severance is going to be tough. I know a lot of people like Yellow Jackets, so I don't know.
Yeah. On the bright side, Better Call Saul was a big winner at the Critics' Choice last night. It did get series. Bob won. Giancarlo Esposito won as well. So hopefully we can get some more awards love for Saul. But yeah, this list is like the drama's nearly the same from the SAG and the PGAs. It's just got a Yellow Jacket sliding in over Ozark, just probably because of eligibility windows. And then if we look at, let's see, TV comedy, it's 3 for 3. SAG, PGA, and WGA, and they all match. It's the same 5 shows. So there you go. But all right. Well, that is our awards roundup. But I have one last thing to mention here because we've been talking about all night. The White Lotus. We've mentioned the White Lotus a lot here. It was in limited series at the WGAs and the Golden Globes. It was a drama series at the Producers Guild and the SAG Awards. And it was a comedy at the Directors Guild Awards. What is it? Pick a lane, guys. Pick a lane.
Yeah.
Whatever category it has the best chance in is the category that they are. Of course. That's how it works.
It's just, it's wild. It's just, We discussed why in our Emmy episode, because it shouldn't have been technically a limited series for the Emmys season 1 back in September, because a character does go over. Normally it's supposed to be all new characters, no ongoing storylines, but they made an exception because Jennifer Coolidge was a part of an ensemble. It wasn't the lead character. She was a supporting character. But it's like, okay, I guess. But then all these other ones are like, no, for these two, it's limited. These two, it's drama. For this one, we'll just say comedy. Like, maybe for Critics' Choice, it could have been a reality series. You could just give it's animation for the Annie Awards. I don't know. Why not? But, yeah. All right. Well,
whatever Mike White wants, man.
And I'm fine with that.
He's going to get.
I love Mike White. Whatever you want to do, Mike. You deliver some great speeches, so I'm up for it. But
yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, next week, it's hard to believe. Next week, we will actually be on Tuesday to break down that day's Oscar nominations. We're going to be live at 8 p.m. Eastern on Twitch. But if you can't join us, then you can, of course, find the playback on YouTube, the audio version on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. We're hoping we'll have our friends at The Good, the Bad, and the Watchable on in March to do the predictions. But next week, on Tuesday, we will break down the Oscar nominations on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Now, we've been talking a lot about one certain movie. We should probably talk about it. We have some time. We're going to do some mini reviews of some new releases on HBO Max after finally being out of theaters. John, what's the sound clip?
Played.
I hear it?
I promise. They played.
You promise you played it? Okay.
I promise.
All right. If not, our friendship is over. Just like these two characters in the Banshees of Inisherin. October 21st is when it was released, but it was recently added to HBO Max. We're talking about it tonight. This dark, tragic comedy is directed and written by Martin McDonagh, and is set on a remote island off the coast of Ireland. It stars Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson as two lifelong friends who find themselves in an impasse when one abruptly ends their relationship. Kyle, what did you think of the Banshees of Inisherin?
I really like this movie. Such a simple concept from the start that I couldn't believe. After about an hour in, I couldn't really believe I was watching a movie that was just about this simple concept. Yeah. But it's so well made. The production of it, like the locations are beautiful. And it's this brutal story in this beautiful location. It just reminded me of growing up like in a small town, and you would have like these weird stories of families from the past and you didn't know how it ended up happening. And this is what it felt like. Is just like, maybe it was something as simple as like one person was like, I just had it with you, And so it reminded me of that a lot. And just the performances as well were really, really good.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoyed this movie.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the performances. I've always loved Brendan Gleeson, and he's great here with Colin Farrell. And you got a comedic performance from Barry Keoghan as playing Dominic. Yeah, I agree. Like it's a small concept in a way. It has a very play feel. I mean, Martin McDonagh is a playwright. I mean, obviously he directs and writes films as well, but it kind of has a play feel to me. It's this relationship. It's the two of them. There are not too many sets. It's these two. Of course, you have these great vistas of Ireland and stuff like that, but you could do this in a theater on a stage and it would still work. Mm-hmm. A smarter person could figure out what's going on, but there's definitely something going on with the Irish Civil Wars kind of pretty much playing out in the background. And, I believe that, resulted in the same side fighting one another. And there's definitely something here with the two of them fighting against each other. There's no actual banshees as far as I can tell. But I mean, the Mrs. McCormick old woman character in the background definitely was foreboding and something was going on there.
Yeah, for sure.
So I don't know about that. But John, what did you think of the Banshees of Inisherin?
I liked it. I don't know if I liked it quite as much as Kyle did, but yeah, I thought it was pretty good. It was something nice to watch. It like you said, the views are great. They did a great job from a technical cinematography standpoint. I thought the story was okay. I mean, it seems a little bit weird. I don't necessarily want to spoil anything, but there's some extreme measures taken over somebody just not wanting to talk to somebody else. Yeah. And it's just like, all right, that's how we're going to do it. All right. I mean, he's like,
that's how they ratchet it up, man.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I can't see somebody annoying me enough to do that to myself, but you know,
I mean,
maybe
not after a podcast when I send you my notes of what I want to, have you do for the podcast.
I can always unplug my computer, Dave.
That's true. I felt when I was watching this, I was like, you guys were going to end up being the Brendan Gleeson characters and be like, Dave, I got to move on. I can't keep doing this every week with you, putting up with your BS. Like, we got to move on. I got to do my creative outlets. But thankfully, you're not there yet. But yeah. Yeah, I'd say overall, like, I didn't like, because I really liked the film. I don't want to say like it was like, my favorite of the year, but it's a solid, letterbox 4 out of 5. Like, I think it's a solid film. But
I mean, I really liked it. I wouldn't mind if it won Best Picture. I mean, out of what I've seen so far, and it is really simple, but still, there's something about it that makes you think in the long run, and then it's like weirdly dark and emotional. Like
it's funny.
It's funny, but like the fact, spoiler alert, I'm gonna bring it, that his favorite pet dies by one of the fingers that his nemesis is cut off. It's like, what is happening here? It's so wild.
The guy wanted time to sit and write his music, and to get the guy to stop bothering me, cuts his fingers off. He can't play music. Like, I don't know.
That's how much it means to him. It shows like his friend.
There's some kind of metaphor happening there for sure.
Maybe my brain's a little too small to pick up on it. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, me too. But there's something. They're trying to say something there.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta watch what you eat in this film, and that's the only transition I could think of when it comes to the menu. Here we go.
I see what you did.
November 18th is when it was in theaters, but it was also just put on HBO Max. This dark comedy horror film stars Nicholas Hoult and Anya Taylor-Joy as a young couple that travels to a remote island to eat at an exclusive restaurant where the chef Ralph Fiennes has prepared a lavish menu and has some shocking surprises as well. All right, John, what did you think of the menu?
I really enjoyed this one. It gave me, gonna sound weird, kind of like Seven or the Memento vibes almost, but not quite the same way because those were a little bit more mystery than this. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. This is the field of kind of almost horror that I like, where it's kind of slow and unraveling, and it's not surprise and jump scares, but it's just a little bit weird and a little bit creepy, and it just every single thing ratchets it up just a tiny bit, and it's that long suspense, not the quick payoffs, So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very well done.
Yeah, Kyle, what about you?
I like this one as well. I might not be as high on it as John, but I like the performances. It was definitely eerie throughout. It kept you on your toes. But I will say with the nothing surprised me, and there were little twists, and I'm like, yeah, I figured this out half hour ago, and stuff like that, which is fine. I was along for the ride, and it did a lot of things production-wise that I thought were really interesting and cool. But there were moments in the story where I was let down and where I was maybe confused as well. But overall, I liked it. I thought it was interesting, and that the horror elements to it definitely were creepy.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that. Where I like the film, but I feel like I like the beginning more than the end. Maybe it was like the word of mouth I've heard about this film building it up over time. That I had a lot of ideas of where this was going and what the menu actually was going to be, and I kind of was like let down by some of the answers when we got towards the end. I was still along for the ride, but like, I like the build up in like the anticipation of where this is going that the first half of the movie really set up. That maybe I just got in my own head of like what the outcome was going to be, because there was playing the long game for a while, and then it was all of a sudden like course 4 or whatever it was, we dial it up to 100 all of a sudden with the man's like suicide, and it's like there's lots of questions I have by the end of like, okay, what's the staff going on with this? Like, how did this whole Coast Guard fake out thing even like was planned and happened, and the whole burger, like there's a lot going on with that, but still a lot of fun and like shocking moments along the way. I loved the dark twisted game that the chef was playing on Nicholas Hoult, and like just making him cook his own BS there, and it's just like I just love there's like a line where he's just like, oh, he must have a new dicing method that we were unaware of. It's just like, but yeah, Nicholas Hoult is so good at playing like these like SOB like characters, this and the Great, and so.
But what was funny is like initially you liked that character, you were along with him, and then you're like, this guy sucks.
Yeah.
So
and like they all have a reason that they are gonna make meet ends meet, and well, I like there was one where it's like, oh, where did you go, or did you have student loans? Like, yeah, or no, was it no? And it's like,
no.
Where did you go to school? Brown. Okay, you're dead. Like, or whatever.
yeah.
But
yeah, that was good. Yeah, there were moments of this movie that were really funny.
Yeah. So, all right, that was the menu. Both of these are on HBO Max, including our next show we're going to be talking about. In order to talk about it, we have to go back, so send us back.
We're back, baby!
Gotta get back in time.
The Last of Us, the series premiere. Now, this series is based on the video game of the same name, and it comes from the creator of Chernobyl, as well as the writer of Scary Movie 3 and 4 and The Hangover Parts 2 and 3. What a resume to have those and Chernobyl in this.
Dude, Chernobyl was badass. That show was so good.
So this series follows Joel, played by Pedro Pascal, as a smuggler tasked with escorting a teenager across a post-apocalyptic United States. All right, I'm sure John has played this. John, what did you think of the game, and what did you think of this adaptation on HBO?
It's been 4 or 5 years since I played the game, so I'm going to try and remember as much as I can. I know we'll get into it, but so far we have mirrored the game very closely, which I think is good. Obviously, the writers of the game spent a lot of time to make it a compelling story. There was a second game. They've won multiple awards. It's a good starting point. Why differ from it, especially when we've had a lot of video game movies, renditions that kind of have gone nowhere because they alter it away too much from the base story. So I'm glad they stuck towards it. As far as the show goes, I've enjoyed it so far. A lot of exposition in the first one and setting up why he's trying to take her, across country and how they meet and all that. So I don't think we really got to experience the show yet. Like, I feel like we're just getting the background info. We had one big shot in the future of like the devastation of a city, and that's it. I feel like we didn't really see a ton of the environment, and I think that's where this movie's the show's gonna really shine. So I'm excited to see some more. But yeah, overall, I have high hopes for it, and it's been good so far.
Yeah. So
I kind of, because I don't remember the video game that well either. Because I don't remember the character of Tess being in it so much early on and helping Joel out as much. But I agree with you. I mean, you just think about how much exposition had to go into this because, and then where they end up at the end of the show, end of the episode, you're like, wow, nothing really happened, but like a lot happened. We had to figure out how this fungus spreads. Then we have to set up a storyline where we care enough about a little girl to have her killed off, to then give Joel his whole arc of why he does what he does. So that's a lot. And then we need to get some kind of makeup. How are they going to do that production wise? We need to see that. And I think they did a good job of, in those limited moments, giving us what we may see in the future. I think if the show is like this throughout, I'm going to feel like let down, but we got to know that these like clicker people are going to be massive parts of this show moving forward.
And I'm trying to think, I think to get to this point in the game, it was like 2 hours, 3 hours, or something like that. I if I remember correctly,
That's
I'd have to double
wild.
check it, but it's a lot, and it doesn't feel slow in the game. But obviously there's a little bit of exploration and stuff you can do in the city, which we kind of gloss over. There's the whole like before anything even happens, you get to like interact with the characters. So there's more stuff to do in the game, but yeah, they had a lot to pack into the episode. So I'm not surprised that it felt like an exposition episode, but it didn't feel like a bad exposition episode.
Yeah, no.
How many times have we watched the show and been like, the first episode was just too much, and this doesn't feel like it. It feels like it got done what it had to do.
Yeah, I think it was a very good pilot episode of a show about a video game, because we have not had either show or movie about a video game that's been really, really good. So
because I know nothing about the video game, and I thought I was really into this. I thought it was a great premiere, gripping stuff. I mean, even starting off with like, sure, we got some exposition about like, fungus and like how an apocalypse could happen with that like 1960s talk show. But even that scene, that opening cold open, I was like, this is interesting. Even just like, it plays off. It's like a little bit of a jokey 1960s banter. And then it gets like serious. And then it starts seeing, oh, this sounds like, like a COVID thing. And then it's like, oh, like, this is possible. Like this could actually happen. And then we cut to, the whole fall of 2003. And then we get to see the new world in 2023. There's so much going on. And anytime you have kind of like a lead up to an apocalypse, I feel like that's always just exciting. TV or, a movie, you got the sirens in the background. I mean, there was a scene with the old woman that was in the background, out of focus when she was looking for a DVD or something, and she was like dying or, something, getting affected. And it was just like chilling. Like it was just like, and I know, a series like Fear the Walking Dead, when it was initially announced, it was built as like, oh, it's, the fall, and we'll see how, we get to The Walking Dead later on. And after like the first 6 episodes, it kind of yada yada, and then it was like, oh, time jump, now we're at the apocalypse. And obviously we kind of jumped here to get to that point, but I just thought like anytime you see a fall like this, on TV or in a movie, it's like it's always gonna be exciting stuff. So I'm curious to see, if like for me, I'm like, oh, am I gonna like the future episodes if it just becomes like a journey thing? But it sounds like you guys are like, no, that's the good stuff. So it's like if this is the bar now, and it only is going to get better, I'm excited.
Yeah,
I think so. And I just looked. It took me over an hour and 50 minutes to get to where the episode ended from the game. So they definitely had to squish it a bit. But that's, again, maybe not a bad thing. You distill it down and you set yourself up. But yeah, I have some hope, especially when they're, as they said, there's a lot of area between where they're going, and there's a lot of emptiness. But there's also a lot of the people affected by the virus. So I think we're going to see a lot of times where it's landscapes and cities that are wrecked, where they're able to take some time and explore and have some nice set pieces, and we're also going to get some more action. So
yeah, and that truck sequence I thought was so good. With she's picked up by her dad and her uncle there in the truck, and we're seeing all of this action like from her point of view, and it's just like, it just is moving. Like we are driving along fast speeds with her. It doesn't stop and slow down. And it's like almost had like a video game-esque feel because it's the POV. And then I'm looking up images for the show. It was the image from the video game, which is like, they borrowed so much from the video game. You only can see and hear what's going on from like the car and her perspective. I just thought that whole sequence just was really good.
Almost one for one. Almost.
Yeah. I think this is a good way to pay homage to a show, to the video game, in the show. And I don't know why, like this was done, I feel like seamlessly within the production, whereas other movies and TV shows that have done this are like trying to shoehorn it in or like force it into a place where it shouldn't be. But this was like the best way to do it. And I felt, even though the game is third person, this felt more like first person as well. But still, it felt like an homage to the game, even though they're two different things,
Yeah, and I'm gonna admit it too. I got a little bit tricked, I thought, with the thing of the show, because I didn't look at the poster too closely. So I was just like, oh, like it's Pedro Pascal and a young girl. This is going to be the young girl that he's going to go cross country with. And sorry, Uncle, you're not going to make it. It's the two of them. And so I was surprised to see her shot, and especially because like there's a scene like in the truck when they're talking about like, oh, it's, you know, if you went to the city you might have been infected, and I don't know if like the city was like where she went to get the clock fixed or the watch fixed, or if that was just a town versus city. I don't know.
That was a town, yeah.
Yeah, but still, it's like, oh, she went into this thing when she wasn't supposed to, or you know, like an extra trip. And it's like, oh, they're setting up, maybe she's going to get the virus, you know, and stuff like that. It's like, nope, she's not going to make it past halfway through this episode. But yeah, real quick, nitpick is a watch that was his and was fixed with his money. Is that a good gift?
I don't think they're really caring that much, because she wanted him to buy his own cake for his birthday. So I think it's more of the thought than where the money
I stole
came
your
from.
money and I took your watch in to get it
But
fixed.
she gave the
it's
change
like-
back.
Yeah, that's true.
And like it's those things that you don't want to deal with, but you would be happy if they were dealt with, or like gifts that you wouldn't necessarily buy yourself, but you like it. But paying it for it with your own money.
Yeah, I'm sure she gets an allowance, but I see. It's gonna be hard not to compare this to a show like The Walking Dead. Obviously, you know that's been on for so long. I really liked what they did, like with the reveal, with like the first zombie or whatever we call it in this show. Like here, it's like this, you know, the innocent next door old lady neighbor, similar to how Rick saw his first zombie in the first episode, when it turns around and it's a young girl with a teddy bear, and he has to, you know, they have to make a decision. Like, nope, sorry, this is starting now. We gotta put you down. And we had to do the same thing here with this person. But unlike the walkers of The Walking Dead, they can move. These guys are fast. And this old lady who was in a wheelchair, she's moving, she's fast, she's super strong.
But the thing is there's certain rules with these zombies that we haven't even been established yet. Yeah. So I mean, I don't want to give anything away because you haven't played the game, but there's a certain way that the fungus takes over the body, and they kind of explained it a little bit, but we haven't seen it in action yet of how they need to navigate these creatures.
That, and because it's a video game, there's a couple different almost like types of zombies.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we'll get to see some of those as this progresses.
Yeah. And I'll say, I feel like the world of Boston 2023 feels like really kind of fleshed out. They all have their own new policies and like just their day-to-days. And like there's that line for that communication guy, radio station code thing where it's like, yeah, that would make sense. Like there would be somebody behind a microphone trying to get the message out. Like there's things in the world where it's like, yeah, that would be how, if the world went to, you know, crap, that this is what would happen. They have that little machine to detect infection. And again, another kind of not fake out for me, but like the young kid we get there, you know, coming in. At first I thought, oh, they were giving him the vaccine. You know, it's like, oh, because it turned red. It's like, nope, it turned red and they were not giving him a vaccine. And, you know, and then we find out at the end with the same machine that Ellie, our lead character here, has it. And the timing of the reveal was great right after the fight with the cop. But she's had it for, I guess, 3 weeks or something. She seems okay. So I don't know. Is she the cure? That's what the whole mission is here, is get her to the scientists and get this thing figured out.
But we also have rival factions too. So that's playing a part in all this as well.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Yeah, the rest of the series, it looks like it's going to be the adventure between, you know, Pedro Pascal and, you know, someone he doesn't want to be around, which is the Mandalorian. You know, at least the first season of the Mandalorian. I am worried about the other character, the adult woman that's with them. I don't know her name, but she's not in the poster. She's not in the log line of the show. So I'm putting two to two together here, and I'm getting four.
Yeah. But here's I don't remember Tess being a big part of the game, but doesn't she come back in the second video game? Or am I making that up?
I never played
can't
the second
remember.
one.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
I know.
I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I don't remember.
And who
It's
knows?
been so long.
It could be one of those things like Game of Thrones or even The Walking Dead, where it's like, hey, we got the source material. We can take some of it, but we can also
Yeah.
go off and do our own thing at points. We can switch things around. So who knows what's going to end up happening? But yeah, like when I saw the poster, I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
Good
Not in the
opportunity for
poster.
a web series or something about what she did in the meantime. Just a supplemental material to the world.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. But yeah, I'm excited to learn more about the world and like, yeah, this infection. I mean, at one point we had the two characters exploring. They're in like this basement thing or whatever, and they see some freshly fungied body on the wall. And I like how I think Pedro Pascal's like, yeah, maybe down here is where he was infected. And it's just like, well, I'm curious. It's like, well, okay, so I guess no mask. Like, you don't need a mask this close to it.
Yeah.
But then the girl at the end, she has the disease. And it's like, oh, get away from me. It's like, wait, how is like? So again, I'm curious. Like, how is it spread? How's it, take a hold? How long is contact? Like, there's so many rules I don't know yet. But I'm interested to see.
On the wall, there was a poster about how long someone would get infected from wounds in different parts of their bodies. So that was a little bit of a clue. But yeah, I think they'll kind of delve more into it as we explore a bit more.
And speaking of clues here, there's this kind of radio that, he gets messages from, depending on what decade the song is from. And I believe the song at the end is 1987's Never Let Me Down Again by Depeche Mode. Now, each decade had its own code, and we didn't see what the 80s meant, but Ellie guessed, that must mean trouble. So that's my assumption here, that there's a song from the 80s playing, so trouble is afoot.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's, from where he would have been around there, or just we know it's going to be trouble for Joel coming up. I think
is it literal or meta? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the radio DJ is like, no, it's actually just a good song. I just wanted to play it. Joel, this one's not for you. I just wanted to play a little. But yeah, so we'll wait and see. I'm definitely in. I'm excited. I'm actually really into this show, and I'm assuming you guys are as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm hoping it stays up like this and doesn't get to be a mess like most video game shows or movies.
Yeah, that's always the worry, but hopefully they'll continue with their current heading and knock it out of the park. We'll see.
All right. We'll wait and see on that. We'll probably check in once it wraps up season 1, whenever that is. But next week, we really have two opposite ends of the spectrum here. We're going to be talking about the Oscar nominations, as well as that 90s show. Those are the two big things coming out in the next week. So yeah, it's going to be a Tuesday night show because Oscar nominations are on Tuesday morning. So Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, on Twitch, twitch.tv/doredundancy. If you can't find it, that night, it's going to be on YouTube. It's going to be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the blog, doredundancy.com. But it's always a fun one to watch live on Twitch if you can make it. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Instagram @doredundancy so you know what we're talking about and when. And I got to thank both you guys for joining me tonight, breaking down a lot of awards, watching The Last of Us and these movies. So much to do. Couldn't do it without you guys. But until next time, I'm David Allen.
I'm Jeff Irwin.
I'm Kyle Bridger.
And that's all we got for Do or Duncy. Goodbye, everybody.